Good morning, my amazing fifth graders. It is your art teacher coming to you on NTI Day number 4 to read the passage for social studies to you entitled Western Expansion. Western Expansion. From 1803 to 1890, the United States exploded with growth. It spread out from coast to coast, becoming one of the biggest countries in the world. The story of America's westward expansion is full of explorers, gold, and even text messages. The United States grows. In 1800, the United States did not look the way it does now. It was much smaller. Instead of sprawling out from the east coast to the west coast, the whole country extended from the Atlantic Ocean to now what we call the Midwest. During the next 100 years, the tiny nation would grow. Today, we call this growth westward expansion. The Louisiana Purchase. The first big step in westward expansion was the Louisiana Purchase. The President, Thomas Jefferson, bought 828,000 square miles of land from France. This land, called the Louisiana Territory, was just west of the United States. President Jefferson got a great deal since each acre of land only cost 3 cents. That means enough land for a football field costs less than a nickel. Lewis and Clark. Jefferson was eager to find out what treasures the Louisiana Territory held. He sent out 2 explorers, Lewis and Clark, by 1805. The team had made a map that stretched all the way to the west coast. The Oregon Trail. Some of the land Lewis and Clark explored did not belong to the U.S. yet. For example, the Oregon Territory belonged to England. In 1841, Americans started moving there using the Oregon Trail. About 300,000 people traveled in covered wagons with their families and everything they owned. The journey took 4 to 6 months. In 1848, America bought the Oregon Territory from England. Texas and Mexico. Much of the land from Texas to the west coast belonged to Mexico. But in 1835, the people in Texas decided they didn't want to be a part of Mexico anymore. The people of Texas fought against Mexico and created their own country called the Republic of Texas. They wanted to join the United States. In 1845, the United States finally took Texas, but Mexico still wanted Texas to be theirs. So the two countries fought the Mexican-American War. At the end of the war, all the northern lands Mexico had owned became part of the United States. People getting people to the west. Even though the United States had grown, it still had a problem. Almost no one was living in the new states. The government had decided to give lands to the Americans. The Homestead Act gave 160 acres of western land to any American, as long as the person promised to improve it. Some people moved west for other reasons. In 1848, a man found gold in California. Thousands of people traveled west, hoping that they could find gold too. Trains and text messages. Once the lands and the people had spread, keeping everyone connected was a problem. In 1861, America finished building a telegraph line that ran from coast to coast. Telegraphs were like text messages, but they came to an office for pickup instead of a phone. In 1869, the United States finished building a railroad that went from coast to coast. It helped people travel and made it easier to sell things from state to state. The Great Seal of the United States, 1782. The Great Seal of the United States is one of the great symbols of our nation. It is used as official documents to authenticate the signature of the President. It is used on proclamations and treaties, as well as for official decorations, on military uniform buttons, and on the $1 bill. The drawing shown here is the initial drawing of the Great Seal of the United States. A committee was organized to design a seal for the new nation just hours after the Declaration of Independence was signed in 1776. By 1782, there had already been 3 committees, none of which had come up with a satisfactory design. On June 13, 1782, all the materials from the previous 3 committees was turned over to a man named Charles Thomson. Within a week, Thomson combined ideas, added some of his own, and redesigned the seal. He sent it back one of the former designers, William Barton, who made a few changes and wrote the description in heraldic language called a blazon. Thomson then submitted it to Congress, and it was adopted on the same day. The only description was submitted to Congress, not a drawing. So the Great Seal of the United States was designed entirely from the description. Summary. From 1803 to 1890, the United States of America grew from 17 states to 44 states. This growth is called westward expansion. The Louisiana Purchase, Mexican-American War, and the Oregon Territory Purchase gave America more land. The Oregon Trail, Homestead Act, and gold mining encouraged people to move west. This country's land grew 3 times its original size. Timeline of westward expansion. 1803, Louisiana Purchase. 1805, Lewis and Clark explore. 1841, Oregon Trail. 1845, Texas joins the United States. 1846 to 1848, Mexican-American War. 1848, California Gold Rush. 1862, the Homestead Act. 1869, railroads unite East and West Coast. 1890, America declared settled. All right, time for the worksheet. Number 1. What did the Homestead Act and the discovery of gold in California have in common? A. They encouraged people to move west. B. They increased the land in the United States. C. They both involved the government giving away land. D. They helped people become very rich. Number 2. What is westward expansion? The United States' growth from British colonies into a country of its own. B. The people moved out of America, leaving for the West. C. The westward growth of United States territory. D. The purchase of Louisiana Territory by President Jefferson. Number 3. From the Louisiana Purchase to the lands all being settled, how did westward expansion take? How long did westward expansion take? A. Several centuries. B. About 3 decades. C. 200 years. D. About 90 years. Which sentence best describes the Oregon Trail? A. It was a trail explored by Lewis and Clark by request of President Jefferson. B. It was a route the Americans traveled with covered wagons and families in order to move northwest. C. It was the trail gold miners used to go west in search of riches. D. It was the route Americans used to reach the lands promised by the Homestead Act. Number 5. Why was the Mexican-American War important to westward expansion? A. At its end, Mexican lands officially became American territories. B. It allowed gold miners from America to sneak into California by distracting police. C. It allowed the Mexican army to finally stop the people in Texas from fighting.